Have you noticed how some people walk into a room and don't really do anything special? They're not loud, not overconfident, not attention-seeking. Yet, slowly, people start looking at them. In every new place, they blend in naturally. People feel comfortable around them. But they don't blindly trust everyone. In an interview, they don't try to impress. They observe. In a relationship, they don't chase. They choose. It's not looks. It's not luck. It's not even charisma. It's because they can read people like books. One person reacts. The other observes. And control always belongs to the observer. The only difference is this: you're performing in the conversation. They're reading the conversation. You have the same brain, the same eyes, the same instincts. So if they can do it, why can't you? So today, that's exactly what we're going to learn. First, the one thing every person leaks through their body, no matter how hard they try to hide it. Second, why the person who talks the most is often hiding the most. Third, the hidden pattern that reveals whether someone is with you, or just around you. Fourth, the silent habit that causes people to read you, while you can't read them. Fifth, the psychological layer that sits on top of every person. And without removing it, you can never see who they really are. Sixth, why the most dangerous people aren't the ones who argue with you, but the ones who always agree. Seventh, the micro skill that keeps you 2 steps ahead in every conversation, without saying a word. And there's a bonus waiting at the end. One idea that will be the most useful part of this entire video. So simple, you'll wonder, why didn't I know this earlier? But it's only for those who stay until the end. This is Book Echo English, where we don't just read books, we read life. Here, we don't just share ideas. We teach you how to read people. If you want uncomfortable truths that actually work, not just sound good, then subscribe. Because what starts today will keep you 2 steps ahead in every room. And the next video, it goes 1 level deeper. Let's begin. First, the one thing every person leaks through their body, no matter how hard they try to hide it. An interview was happening at a large company. The candidate walked in. Suit perfect. Hair set. Answers rehearsed. Every response ready. The interviewer asked, "Why did you leave your last job?" The candidate said, "For growth." In that same second, his hands moved under the table. His eyes flicked up to the upper left for a moment. And he lightly touched his collar. The interviewer said nothing. But he took note. 10 minutes later, the candidate was outside. Not selected. The reason? The answers weren't wrong. The body didn't match. The human brain works in 2 parts. One that speaks the words. And one that sends the signals. And the problem is, the body doesn't know how to lie. When someone is hiding something, their brain gets busy managing the story. Control slips. And leakage begins. This leakage happens in every conversation. 3 of the most common leakage points. First, the hands. When uncomfortable, hands hide. Or touch the face. Nose, lips, ears. These are self-soothing gestures. The brain is trying to calm itself. Second, the feet. The most honest body part. People control their face. They control their hands. Not their feet. If someone's feet turn toward the door, they've already left mentally. Only the body remains. Third, micro-expressions. Less than a second. disgust, fear, contempt. They flash. They disappear. But they happen. But remember, don't judge based on a single signal. Look for clusters. When 3 or 4 things appear together, that's when a pattern forms. In that candidate's case, hands hidden, eyes looked up, collar touched. 3 signals. The growth story wasn't true. The body doesn't lie. People just don't know how to listen to it. Now we've talked about the body. But there's something else people leak. And that is, their own words. The person who talks the most is often hiding the most. How? In the next point. There's a concept, over-communication. Some people explain everything without being asked. The reason for every decision. The justification for every action. I did this because. Look, the thing is, you're not understanding what actually happened was. The first time you hear it, it feels very transparent, very honest. But in reality, they're not convincing you. They're convincing themselves. This is an old pattern of guilt. When someone is hiding something, the brain creates a defensive story. And that story keeps repeating. So many times, that even they start believing it's true. But on the outside, that story leaks through words. More details, more explanations. An example. You asked your friend, "Why didn't you come yesterday?" If the answer is, "I wasn't feeling well," conversation over. But if the answer is, "Man, look, actually I already had a feeling I wouldn't make it. Then I thought maybe I could manage. Then at the last moment I felt a little off. And there was also a situation at home." Pause. Why so much? Simple question. A simple answer was enough. When the explanation is bigger than the question, understand, something else is going on. But remember, not all overcommunication is a lie. Sometimes it's insecurity. Sometimes a need for approval. Sometimes anxiety. But it's something. How to read it? Watch the ratio between question and answer. Short question. Long answer. The more unequal the ratio, the deeper you dig. Second. Unsolicited details. What you didn't ask is being given voluntarily. Often those details are the most active in that person's brain. And what's most active is often the most sensitive. More words. More data. More data. More clarity. But so far we've only looked at what a person leaks. The real question is, the person sitting with you, are they actually with you? Or just around you? That's in the next point. The question is simple. But if you truly understand it, your circle will change. First, an uncomfortable truth. People mistake proximity for connection. Just because someone shows up every day, you assume they're close. Just because you have lunch together, you think there's a bond. Just because the chats keep going, you assume there's care. But familiarity is not loyalty. Repeated exposure is not emotional investment. Same office, same class, same city. That's proximity. But being with someone is rapport. Patrick King explains the difference. Proximity versus rapport. Proximity. Someone is near you. Rapport. Someone is with you. And the difference shows up on the day of a crisis. Think about it. A breakup at 2 a.m. A night in the hospital emergency room. Getting rejected in an interview. On that day. Who did you call? And even more important. Who called you first? That's where the pattern begins. Pattern 1, reciprocity. In real connection, effort comes from both sides. Not equal. But balanced. If you initiate 5 times. And the other person 0. They're not busy. You're just low on their priority list. People don't give time. People give priority. If you make every plan. If you make every call. If you do every check-in. That's not friendship. That's your unilateral investment. Pattern 2, consistency under pressure. On good days, everyone is around. Promotion. Everyone says congrats. Birthday. Stories fill up. But failure? Silence. The question isn't who showed up for the celebration. The question is who stayed during the collapse. The people who connect only with your successful version. That's proximity. The ones who are comfortable with your broken version. That's rapport. Pattern 3, quality of attention. Proximity people listen to you. Rapport people remember you. And not just your words. Your tone. Your mood. Your shift in energy. You mentioned 3 weeks ago. You had an important interview. Did they ask on their own? How did it go? You casually said. I've been a little stressed these days. Did they check in later? If they remember your favorite coffee. But not your fears. That's social memory. Not emotional memory. Now the most painful realization. You can be popular. But not supported. You can have contacts. But no allies. You can have an audience. But no witness. And when you understand this, your circle gets smaller. But your clarity gets bigger. And that's maturity. Don't be impressed by proximity. Invest in rapport. Because in the end, life doesn't run on quantity. Life runs on reliability. And if you don't understand this difference, you'll spend years giving energy to the wrong people. Now the question is, in someone else's life, are you just proximity? Or rapport? If this video has been valuable so far, go ahead and like it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And tell me in the comments, how many rapport people are in your life? 1. 2. Or do you have to think about it? Now the next point. And this one is a little uncomfortable. Because this time, the mistake is yours. A silent habit. That allows people to read you. But you can't read them. That's in the next point. This one is uncomfortable. Because the problem here isn't toxic people. The problem is you. Try a small experiment. Think of someone you believe you know well. Now honestly tell me. When did you decide what kind of person they are? The first meeting? The first impression? One awkward moment? That's the silent habit. We don't observe people. We label them. One day they were rude. They're arrogant. Late once. They'll never be serious. Quiet in a meeting. They don't know anything. One moment. One label. Permanent identity. And the brain loves this shortcut. Because observing takes effort. Judging is easy. But this is where the real mistake happens. When someone else makes a mistake, we see character. When we make a mistake, we see situation. They were rude. They have a bad attitude. I was rude. I wasn't in a good mood today. They were late. Non-professional. I was late. Traffic was bad. This double standard is so subtle. You don't even notice it. It has a name, but more important than the name is recognizing it. We explain other people's behavior through their personality. And our own behavior through circumstances. And that's why. People can read you. But you can't read them. Because you're not observing. You're confirming. Whatever first impression you formed. You keep looking for evidence to prove it. If you've decided someone is selfish, you'll see selfishness. Even in their neutral actions. If you've decided someone isn't smart, you'll ignore their smart moments. You're not seeing the person. You're protecting your label. Now the question is, how do you break this habit? Patrick King suggests a simple shift. When someone does something, don't first ask, what kind of person are they? First ask, why did this happen in this situation? The difference is subtle. The impact is massive. Because when you look at the situation, you see patterns. When you see patterns, you get context. And context helps you understand character. One rude moment is not character. Repeated disrespect is a pattern. One late arrival is not personality. Chronic irresponsibility is a pattern. Observation takes time. But it gives accuracy. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Why do you judge quickly? Because certainty is addictive. I know what they're like. That sentence gives you the illusion of control. But the reality? You're forming conclusions on incomplete data. And with incomplete data, accurate reading isn't possible. Now look at the flip side. If you want people to understand you correctly, you want them not to judge you by your worst moment. So why do you make the same mistake with others? Maturity means context before reaction, pattern before label, curiosity before judgment. And when you make this shift, people suddenly start looking complex. Not black and white. Layered. That's when you can read them. Otherwise, you're just guessing. And calling it intuition. So far we've talked about body signals, word patterns, rapport and proximity. But there's still one layer left. Because even if you stop judging, there's still a problem. Every person consciously presents a version, a mask, a curated identity. And until you learn to recognize that layer, you'll only see the surface. Not the real person. But one thing. Throughout this entire video, we've been talking about different signals. And there's one thing that connects all of them. We'll talk about that at the end. Just stay with me. That's the fifth point. If you truly want to read people, you have to break one illusion. Not everyone is authentic. Everyone is adapted. Everyone lives in two versions. One, that the world sees. One, that runs inside. And the gap between those two is often very large. Think about yourself. You're different at the office. Different at home. Different with friends. Different when you're alone. Are you fake? No. You're adaptive. Carl Jung called this the persona. The persona is the social mask we wear to survive. The mask isn't bad. It's functional. Would you show vulnerability in an interview? Insecurity in front of your boss? Trauma on a first date? No. So you present a controlled version. Curated. Measured. Strategic. The problem begins when you mistake that curated version for the entire identity. You see the surface and conclude, I know this person. No. You know their performance. So where does the real person show up? 3 places. First, unexpected moments. When things don't go as planned. Coffee spills. Plans get cancelled. You're stuck in traffic. What's the first reaction? Blame. Irritation. Solution. Silence. That raw response is real data. A mask runs on rehearsal. It slips in surprise. Second place, pressure. When the stakes are high. Time is short. Resources are limited. Pressure doesn't change a person. It reveals them. On normal days, everyone seems calm. Under pressure, priorities show. Who becomes self-centered? Who stays supportive? Who collapses? Who leads? That's character. Third, power difference. This is the most underrated signal. When someone is talking to you, they're aware, present, performing. But when they talk to a waiter, a driver, a junior, the office boy, does the tone change? Is respect stable? Or does it fluctuate based on status? Simple rule. If someone is kind to you, but rude to people with less power, they're not a good person. They're showing selective behavior. And selective kindness is not character. It's strategy. And strategy lasts only as long as the benefit does. Now an uncomfortable reflection. You wear a mask too. You adapt. Based on people's status, context, and expectations. So the goal isn't to remove the mask. The goal is to recognize it. When you understand that the other person is performing, you stop reacting. You observe. You collect patterns. You don't form conclusions from isolated behavior. You wait for moments of pressure, surprise, and power shifts. That's where the real person appears. And when you develop this skill, manipulation decreases. Disappointment decreases. Because you don't invest in the surface. You look for substance. So far we've decoded body signals, words, connection patterns, judgment errors, persona. But one category is still left. Who are the most dangerous people? The ones who openly oppose you? No. The ones who always agree. That's the next point. Listen carefully. The people who openly disagree with you usually aren't the problem. At least you know where they stand. The real danger. The people who always agree. With every idea. Every plan. Every decision. Yeah, that's right. Whatever you say. Sounds good to me. At first, it feels comfortable. No conflict. No tension. No debate. But think. Can two mature people genuinely agree on everything? Impossible. If someone never disagrees, there are three possibilities. And all three are risky. Type 1, approval seeker. This person is afraid of conflict. They want harmony, not truth. You're heading in the wrong direction. They'll stay silent. You're making a risky decision. They'll say, go for it. Why? Because they want to protect the relationship. Not integrity. The problem is, this person will never let you grow. Because growth comes from friction. Not blind agreement. Type 2, strategic agreeable. This one is more dangerous. They don't agree out of fear. They agree out of calculation. They want something from you. Access. Opportunity. Status. Resources. As long as they benefit, the agreement continues. The day the benefit ends, the alignment ends. And that's when you realize. They weren't with you. They were just around you. Type 3, passive-aggressive. This is the most confusing type. With their words. Yeah, we'll do it. Inaction. Delay. Excuse. Sabotage. Agreement on the surface. Resistance in behavior. This type is emotionally draining. Because you can't clearly identify whether it's support or silent opposition. Now the real question. Why is someone who always agrees dangerous? Because they disconnect you from reality. If you're surrounded only by yes people, your mistakes will amplify. It becomes an echo chamber. And your ego quietly grows. Strong relationships include respectful disagreement. If someone truly values you, they'll take the risk. They'll tell you the uncomfortable truth. Now practical detection. Signal 1, micro disagreement test. Intentionally say something harmless. A small incorrect statement. Watch the reaction. Do they gently correct you? Or agree again? If correction is 0, there's a high chance honesty is 0 too. Signal 2, words versus actions. Agreement is easy. Execution is costly. I'm with you. Does the behavior match? Are commitments followed? Are deadlines respected? Does the energy match? If the words are 10, and the action is 4, the real alignment is 4, not 10. Signal 3, private versus public behavior. Support in public. Doubt in private. Or the opposite. Consistency builds trust. Selective agreement builds manipulation. Now an uncomfortable reflection. Do you ever practice strategic agreement yourself? In front of your boss? In front of influential people? In a relationship, in the name of peace? If yes, then you're playing the same game. You're trying to avoid in others. Authenticity doesn't mean arguing about everything. But where there's a real difference. Silence is also a signal. If this video has been valuable so far, go ahead and like it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And tell me in the comments. Is there someone in your life who always agrees? And one more thing. All the signals we've discussed so far. Body, words, connections, habits, persona, agreement. Each one works on its own. But there's one thing that connects. All of them together. That's in the bonus. Just stay a little longer. So far we've decoded body, words, rapport, judgment errors, persona, agreement patterns. But all of this is scattered data. Until you learn how to connect it. And that's the next step. But before that, one micro skill. The skill that keeps you 2 steps ahead. In every conversation. Without interrupting. Without dominating. Without saying too much. That's the next point. Up to now, you've understood the signals. Body. Words. Connection patterns. Judgment errors. Persona. Fake agreement. But here's the reality. Observation is only possible when the other person is talking. What if they're guarded? What if they're calculated? What if they're trained to stay surface level? Then what? You don't force. You create space. And that skill is deliberate silence. Most people cannot tolerate silence. A 2-second gap in a conversation. Panic. Immediate joke. Immediate topic change. Immediate random question. Why? Because silence removes control. And people like control. But the one who can hold silence is the one in control. Here's how it works. Scenario. You ask. Why weren't you happy at that job? They respond. Just, the environment wasn't great. What does the average person do? Oh, okay. Then what happened? Or they switch topics. But if you pause. 3 seconds. Soft eye contact. Neutral expression. What happens? Their brain becomes uncomfortable. And to fill that discomfort, they speak. Actually, my boss micromanaged a lot. And honestly, I felt undervalued. That's where the real data comes out. The first answer was social. Silence pulled out depth. Remember this rule. The first answer is social. The second answer starts becoming real. Now the second layer. Silence isn't just an information tool. It's a power signal. Someone who doesn't react instantly. Doesn't look reactive. Someone who isn't reactive. Appears stable. Stability builds trust. Trust brings openness. Openness brings truth. Next element. Focused follow-up. Most people shift into interrogation mode. Rapid-fire questions. Topic hopping. Scattered energy. That's an interview. Not a conversation. High-level readers do something different. They pick one thread. And go deeper into it. If they say, I didn't feel respected there. You ask. In what specific way was respect missing? That's it. One precise question is more powerful than 10 generic ones. Why? Because you listened. You noticed. You valued what they said. And people open up where they feel heard. Now the third element. Strategic mirroring. Simple technique. Repeat their last 2 or 3 words. In a calm tone. They say, I felt invisible. You respond. Invisible? And pause. They'll elaborate. Yeah, in meetings, my ideas were ignored. Mirroring isn't manipulation. It's a spotlight. You're letting them go deeper. Using their own words. Now notice this. Silence. Deep follow-up. Mirroring. What's the common factor? You speak less. They speak more. And the more someone speaks, the more they reveal. But one warning. Don't make silence awkward. Don't look judgmental. Don't turn it into a staring contest. Your presence should be calm. Your energy grounded. You're not an interrogator. You're an observer. When someone feels safe, their guard drops. Guard down. Persona thins. Patterns become visible. Character becomes readable. That's the edge. Not by dominating a conversation. By designing it. And here's the irony. The most powerful skill isn't speaking. It's pausing. Now one last thing remains. All these tools are scattered. If you use them randomly, you won't get clarity. You need a framework. One that decides when to observe, when to wait, when to test, when to invest. That's in the bonus. Let's go there. If you've stayed till here, you're not a casual viewer. Now here's the framework that makes this entire video practical. Remember the name. Signal clustering. Simple idea. Massive impact. What's the biggest mistake people make? They see one signal and build a conclusion. One behavior. One word. One reaction. And the story is ready. But real life isn't a Netflix script. Signals never come alone. They come in clusters. And truth is hidden in the cluster, not in a single moment. Example. Someone is sitting with their arms crossed. Single signal interpretation. They're defensive. Could be wrong. Maybe the AC is cold. Maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's just comfortable posture. Now build a cluster. Arms crossed. Avoiding eye contact. Body angled toward the door. Short answers. Flat voice. Now. Now it's a pattern. Now it's not coincidence. Simple rule. 1 signal, coincidence. 2 signals, possibility. 3 or more, probability. That discipline turns you from a guesser into an observer. Now the practical framework. Step 1, baseline. Every person has a different normal. Some naturally speak fast. Some use their hands a lot. Some avoid eye contact by default. If you don't know the baseline, you can't detect deviation. Example. If someone is always energetic, and today they're dull, that's data. If someone is always dull, and today they're dull, that's not data. Without baseline, reading people becomes fiction. Step 2, context. Remove context. And a signal can mislead you. Short answers. Maybe they're introverted. Maybe the topic is sensitive. Maybe others are in the room. The meaning of a signal is tied to the environment. Change the context. The meaning can change. Step 3, cluster confirmation. Avoid impatience. You notice one signal. Don't react. You notice a second. Observe. You notice a third. Now note the pattern. Delaying conclusions is maturity. Fast judgment isn't smart. Accurate judgment is. Now real application. Suppose someone is praising you. Single signal. They're supportive. Look at the cluster. Public praise. Private distance. Missed commitments. Microsarcasm slipping out. Now. Mixed signals. Mixed signals equals unclear alignment. Clustering creates clarity. And here's the most important shift. Signal clustering isn't just for reading others. Use it on yourself. If 3 different people independently give you the same feedback, that's not coincidence. That's a pattern. Clustering exposes ego too. Now remember. Body signals alone are unreliable. Words alone are cheap. Agreement alone can be deceptive. Silence alone is ambiguous. But when 3 or 4 dimensions align, character becomes visible. Character isn't an isolated moment. It's a repeated pattern. People who read patterns are rarely shocked. Because red flags don't appear suddenly. They show up first as small signals. We just ignore them. From today, keep one rule simple. Don't react to a single signal. Let the cluster form. Observation, assumption. Pattern, emotion. Probability, impulse. That's the backbone of this entire video. Now you won't guess. You'll collect. You'll compare. You'll confirm. And only then, conclude. That's the difference between a reactive mind and a trained mind. From today, try this. Next time you talk to someone, don't react to one signal. Just keep collecting. Wait for 3. Then watch. The difference will reveal itself. So that was Patrick King's book. Read people like a book. But this wasn't just about reading people. It was about letting go of impulsive judgment. We saw that the body can appear controlled. Yet leakage still happens. We understood that over-talking isn't always clarity. Sometimes it's concealment. We learned the difference between proximity and rapport. And that in a crisis, character speaks for itself. We caught our most common mistake: defining others by their worst moment, while defining ourselves by our intentions. We decoded the persona, learning to recognize the mask, not remove it. We saw that the absence of conflict doesn't equal honesty. We learned to use silence, not as a weapon, but as a tool. And most importantly, all these signals remain incomplete unless you see them in clusters. Understand the baseline. Read the context. Wait for 3 signals. Then conclude. Try one thing today. In a conversation, let the first signal appear. Let the second appear. Let the third appear. Then speak. One last question. You learned how to read people today. But what's the point? If you're still trapped inside your own head? The problem isn't just that people are unreadable. The problem is that you're stuck in overthinking. Extra analysis on every decision. Doubt before every action. Is this right? Before every move. Meanwhile, others take imperfect action and move ahead of you. Knowledge without action isn't an advantage. That's why the next video is on Peter Holland's book, Think Less, Do More. How to simplify your thinking. How to break hesitation. How to make action your default. So subscribe now, because this video can be missed without notifications. And the one who misses it stays where they are. Thinking, not doing. This channel doesn't just create summaries. It delivers mental upgrades. It's for people who want change, not just information. If this video genuinely helped you, send it to that one person who wants to understand people better. Like if you found value. Subscribe if you're serious about growth. Comment below. What did you think was the most powerful insight today? And in the next video, think less, do more. This was Book Echo English, where we don't just read books. We read life. And listen. If you genuinely want to grow, don't stop here. There are 2 videos on your screen. They're just as valuable. Watch one now. Don't waste time.